Chairwoman Lowy, Ranking Member Rogers, other members, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. As a former U.S. Ambassador and the Vice-Ranking Member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I cannot overstate America's centrality in safeguarding human rights, fostering peace, and promoting economic development, trade, and good governance worldwide. I've had the opportunity to travel with Ms. Torres on these very missions across Central America and our world. With countries like China and Russia working to undermine democratic values and respect for human rights, American leadership is more important than ever. And the U.S.-led international order has helped populations across the globe enjoy safer, more stable, and frankly more prosperous lives. And I believe American diplomatic engagement is critical to leaving a better world for the next generation. Peace and stability are a prerequisite for prosperity. But as we see in Syria, Burma, and elsewhere, many states are engaged in large-scale violence against their own citizens. And the United States has a responsibility to help these vulnerable communities. For that reason, I want to voice my strong support for robust funding for the Complex Crisis Fund, or CCF. The CCF is a critical global account that enables the United States to respond swiftly and efficiently to unforeseen crises, filling a gap when other monies are unavailable. Foreign service officers and USAID workers in the field rely on the CCF to mitigate incipient humanitarian crises and prevent conflicts from spinning out of control. And data analysis from the Institute of Economics and Peace indicates that strong funding for the CCF could actually save taxpayers' money in the long run. They would submit that for every dollar invested now, the cost of conflict would be reduced by $16. I urge you to fund this account at least $10 million in fiscal year 2020. Also, one of the top priorities in Congress in ending human trafficking, an injustice that has enslaved over 40 million people worldwide, I can say that the State Department's Office to Monitor and Combat Trafficking in Persons has been instrumental in building partner nation capacity and incentivizing effective anti-trafficking measures. I urge you to provide robust funding to the TIP office so it can improve justice systems and prosecutions of traffickers and sex buyers in partner nations. Frankly, doing my own TIP report as a former U.S. ambassador was so very important and impactful in what I was able then to bring to Congress and promote legislatively from a policy standpoint. And finally, I ask you to allocate robust funding for democracy programs in Burma. In fiscal year 2019, the National Endowment for Democracy, NED, received $4 million for its activities in Burma. It has used these funds to promote the development of civil society and strengthen democratic institutions. NED is helping to build a Burma in which genocide, brutalities, and rights violations against the country's minorities are unthinkable. And I urge you to continue supporting its mission at least that $4 million level. I ask you to ensure that our assistance to Burma does not in any way make the United States complicit in the appalling crimes that Burmese military they have committed against the Rohingya, the Shan, the Kachin, and other ethnic groups. Last year, the House version of the NDAA included language limiting security assistance and military cooperation until the Department of State certifies that the Burmese government has held perpetrators accountable for human rights abuses. I was deeply disappointed that the final NDAA did not include this language, and I hope that the SFOPs appropriations bill for fiscal year 20 reflects its provisions regardless. Members of the Burmese military responsible for committing genocide and other crimes against humanity must be held responsible for their actions. The Burmese military should not receive 1 cent of U.S. foreign military financing until it takes action to end and atone for egregious human rights abuses. America excels at helping our partners build capacity, good governance practices, and democratic institutions. Democratizing and developing countries want and need us to remain a reliable partner. I hope the subcommittee will support strong funding for, again, the U.S. anti-trafficking, for conflict prevention, and for capacity building programming. So I thank you for all your hard work on these issues. I appreciate your courtesy, Madam Chairwoman and Ranking Member. I'm happy to take any questions or dash.
Let me give us your choice. Would you like to take questions, or do you want to dash?
Do I
then
have?
I'll bring Mr. Case back.
Where are we? Are they voting yet? Okay, I probably have to leave in just a few minutes. If you have any questions, I'm happy to entertain a couple, but
I just want to, before I turn it over, well, maybe I'll give our members who didn't ask some questions. I'll do it that way. I just want to thank you for your testimony, and I must say that I was part of several celebratory events with Aung San Suu Kyi, and this was probably one of the most disappointing results I can ever imagine in the time that I was here. And I thank you for your activism. Wish you had some advice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do.
It's very tough.
Otherwise, I'll turn to another question before you leave.
I agree. I can tell you, in terms of some of the priorities that I've laid out here, I think that Chairman Engel is very committed to the CCF and actually getting behind it. I have fought for this on the Republican side of the aisle for some time. He is committed to this also, and I think that anything we can do from a prevention side early on is very, very important. I think that will make a big difference in arming our foreign service officers and others to work more on the preventative side. I've had the pleasure of passing the Genocide and Atrocities Act, which CCF was very much a part of, but I think we're going to put some more teeth to it in this next Congress. Any other questions?
Why don't I turn to Ms. Torres, because you were next.
Thank you for your leadership in these issues, specifically with sex trafficking.
Yeah.
We were in Iquitos, Peru, and we visited a center that was built to help support infants that are sex trafficked. I didn't know that type of tourism existed.
It was just horrific.
It was horrible to find out that it's American citizens traveling
Exploiting.
there for the purpose of exploiting infants. So thank you for that work. And I just want to encourage you. I know that this is a very, very difficult issue for you, but women need support. And when rape is, a favorite weapon of war, we have to find a way to help provide health care for the women that have been raped and result in unwanted pregnancies and are left on the side of the road, to care for themselves and an unwanted child that no one recognizes as a human being. It's shameful. It's a black eye, but I hope that we can find a space where we can work to
I hope so too. And
fortify the health care of these women.
I look forward to that, and I can tell you that my gender side bill also is very much a part of that too. There are so many little girls across this country, sadly, that are killed in the womb because of their gender, because they are little girls, and it goes along the same line. So we'll be putting that legislation, I hope, forward again, and it's been generally on a bipartisan basis. So I look forward to working with you on those issues.
Mr. Fortenberry or Ms. Roby, do you have any questions before we go back to Mr. Case? Do you want to go now? Okay,
Absolutely.
sir. With great respect.
Thank you for being here to give us your perspective on this ongoing tragedy in Burma.
Yeah, it's awful.
But in the 019 bill that we just passed, we've got $86.4 million in economic support funds to support civil society, advance the national reconciliation process, and improve the lives left vulnerable by decades of military rule. It also has $3.5 billion for the international narcotics control funding. No monies for international security assistance, none. And State Department interaction with the Burmese military is limited to human rights and disaster response. So we hear you. It's an ongoing tragedy that we'll deal with. Thank you.
No, and I appreciate that. And I just, again, can't say enough about the National Endowment for Democracy and that $4 million that NED need, that grant money that they need to have, I think, more programming control over, and I think can also go a long way to helping to build a Burma in which these kinds of brutalities and genocide and human rights violations are unthinkable. So I thank you, Ranking Member. Thank you all so very, very much. I am going to put my roller skates on and dash back to Rayburn.